Winning animator. She's worked on over 75 episodes of the animation Archer on the FX network. Super funny show. If you guys haven't seen it, download it. It's awesome. Very good. She's actually creator of My Animation Life. This is a creative strategy network which is inclusive for the state of Georgia in America. So basically, this is a recruiting network that helps students and professionals get jobs. This is fantastic work that she's done. Currently, she's the recruiter at Activision Blizzard and their upcoming game, Diablo 4, which is going to be very spooky and scary. So I'd like to welcome Allyssa Lewis.
สวัสดีค่ะกับคุณที่ให้ฉันมาอยู่ที่นี่วันนี้ฉันอยากพูดเป็นภาษาไทยค่ะ I'm just kidding. As you can see, my Thai is not that great, but thank you so much for humoring me. Today, I do want to present some information to you, and I hope that if you have any questions right now burning in your heart, that they get answered. If you have a piece of paper with you or your phone with you, please feel free to write anything down or look at your phone during your presentation. I will not take offense to you being on your phone because I'll be assuming that you're taking notes. Awesome. So my name is Allyssa A. Lewis, and you can see the slide that's in the presentation. That's a little snapshot of some of the projects that I'm really proud of working on. We'll just hit this. We'll hit it in a moment. So my background is also in animation, and I've been in animation for a little over 16 years. I started out when I was 2 years old. I really wanted to be an animator. I watched Bugs Bunny being drawn to life. Has anyone seen Bugs Bunny or Looney Tunes or those animations? Yeah. My mother was sitting with me and we were watching cartoons, and I saw this hand come in and start drawing Bugs Bunny. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't think about the fact that these cartoons are made by people. And in that moment, I knew I wanted to be an animator. I didn't come from a background where that would have been a very easy thing to do, but I still was able to work for Activision Blizzard as a recruiter now in the art and animation department. Previously, just a few months ago, I was working for Netflix in the art and story department for animation feature films, so really helping films get the talent they need on budget, on schedule, and making sure that all their needs for that project were put together. I'm also on the board of directors for ASIFA South. Some of you I know have been working with ASIFA South and Slatik. I've got an intern right here. And I'm also a judge for the Emmy Awards. So I have an Emmy from working on the show Archer, but I also judge. I want you to know I did not judge while I got the award. I didn't. There was no cheating going on there. It happened afterwards. All of you have the opportunity to also be judges for these award shows. And if you have any questions about that, we can talk about it later. This is me, a geeky little kid. I always wore glasses. A tip, never stare into the sun. It's very bad for your eyes. My background is Guyanese. If you've heard of the country of Guyana, both my parents are immigrants. I'm the first person to go to college. And I have a military background. My father was in the military, and we moved all the time. And that meant school to school to school to school. I didn't get to take a lot of proper art classes up until I got to college. So a lot of my art was just self-training. The programs I used to use before going to college were MS Paint and PowerPoint. Does anyone know those programs? Yeah, you know them? Has anyone ever used MS Paint? Oh, yeah, okay, we've got some veterans in here. I want you to know the version I used had no special anything. It was really difficult. I had to go pixel by pixel to make all the art. And then I would put all my images in PowerPoint and hit the slide button, like how I'm hitting this one. I would just hit it really, really, really fast. And that's how I would see my animations play. The first college I went to was Westland College, a wonderful university that you can learn a lot of things from attending. but not animation, which is what I was told when I first started. And so if you have any questions about picking your education after you're in school, please ask those questions, because I went to the wrong college first and then the right college second, which was transferring to Savannah College of Art and Design. It's a campus that started in Savannah and has other campuses in different regions. Thank you. My first job I got when my first industry job was when I was 19. I was 18 years old, about to turn 19, and I was working at Georgia Public Broadcasting. It's like PBS. So if you think of a channel that plays a lot of kid shows, it's run by the state and has a lot of volunteers giving funds to it. That's kind of what that station is like. And my first project was a World War II project where I was interviewing people who fought in World War II who are still alive, and then helping make the art and the animations that went behind our videos. And then the second project I got the same year was my first freelance project, so working for my own company. It was like really small, and it's called Animal Lab. I got to work with a celebrity voice actor, which was incredible at the time. So just to let you know that when you're doing your projects on your own, you might, even though you're small and just even though you're starting out, you might still get to work with some pretty amazing people. This show, Archer, was the show that I'm most popularly known for because it's the most popular show I've ever worked on. That was season 3, that first image in the corner. That is the first episode I worked on. And I remember when I first got this job, it was during the recession that happened in America, where we had so many people lose their job, nobody was spending money, and it was really, really challenging to figure out how I was going to get work. So I ended up working 2 full-time jobs, working 72 to 80 hours a week, and having only 1 half day off. And I still continued to work in my portfolio and to try to go to events during that 1 half day off. And I ended up meeting the person who was hiring for this show and convincing them that I should be given a shot. And then I got my shot, and I got to work with this wonderful team for 5 seasons. If you look at that picture, you can see me in it. Can anyone spot where I am? No? Shaking your head? Come on. Yes? Where? Anyone see? I think I heard something. What'd you say? Oh, your eye shot? I have the red hat on. Right there. Yeah. I thought, of course, I look at me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. This is a slide from my company. I absolutely adore entrepreneurship. When I started this company, it was just 5 people in my dining room at my house. And we would just get together and share information. The reason why I started it is because when I was in my senior year, like many of you students who may be in various years right now when you're in school, I got a portfolio class that I had to take, and my professor was incredible. I loved him. I was having so much fun all the way up until the 2nd week before we were supposed to graduate. In that 2nd week, my professor goes, oh, shoot. You know what? We're supposed to be following a syllabus. And so the entire class, we hadn't been following a syllabus. And he flipped through and says, okay, we have 2 weeks to do everything. In 2 weeks, you need to make a website, make a portfolio, reach out to 3 companies, get them to respond to you, apply to at least 3 jobs, and have a list of companies that you would prefer to work for, and your cover letter completed. All in the last 2 weeks. And I went from, oh, this guy's awesome, to, oh, I hate you. Oh. It was bad. I was freaking out. My peers were freaking out. We were scrambling, trying to figure out how are we going to do all of this in 2 weeks. And so I commissioned so many people to help me. I was like, okay, you help me with my website. You help me with this logo. You help me with this. I got all my friends, every family member I could think of to help me. But I still struggled with figuring out what companies do I want to work for? Where do I want to get a job? How do I send an email to someone? How do I convince someone that I should get an interview with the work that I have? Because my work wasn't the best. And so I started leaning on my peers and saying, hey, so what companies did you apply to? I just want to start getting a list of options for myself since we all have the same assignment. And you know what response I got? Oh, you just kind of look, yeah, I don't know what I have on my list. I don't know. Students were withholding information. All of a sudden, my friends became my competition. Just like that, the last 2 weeks of school. And it hit me hard because these are the people that I cared about for 4 years, now showing a side of themselves that I was soon to see for the rest of my career. That moment was hard, but that moment does happen at some point for many people. And so what I did was in that moment make a declaration that when I do find out what these companies are, when I do find out how they hire, what they're looking for, how to write these letters, I'm going to make a whole list, and I'm going to make it public, and I'm going to make it free. And so I started that with my company, and we were in my dining room just sharing information openly. That was the theme, is everybody come, you tell me who you know who has a job. You tell me what skills you learned. You tell me who you met at an event, show me their business cards, and everyone share everything. And then it got bigger, and then it turned into more educational services, but all around employment. And then it turned into now companies need to know where these artists are and how do we hire them properly? How do we have fair compensation? How do we have environments that are welcoming to everyone? And so my animation life started to open up more and more. We have that picture in the far right. That's an open mic night where we had artists come up and just introduce themselves, and then companies could interact with them and figure out what skills they had. And then that event at the bottom where everyone's pointing at the screen, it's one of our open shares. So each month we would we would bring professionals who were in industries that are hiring and then have them pitch their job and tell more about what they're looking for so people who are looking for jobs can have a better understanding of how to work with those companies. And they're all recorded, so even if you weren't in that region, you could still access it. And that last event right there was studio tours. So we would hop from studio to studio and get a feel for what's the culture in each environment so people could know what they'd be getting into before they even applied for a job. Thank you. And this slide is just my favorite experiences. At the top was one of the most recent projects I worked on just independently. I don't do as much art these days because I like to contract it. It's a funny thing. You might fall in love with making your art and then fall even more in love with other people making your art. It's a nice transition. That clip at the top, I actually was in Captain America Winter Soldier, but that's not me. That's actually his co-star's body. I put my face on it. I played a poor villager in that movie. And then Black Panther, you can see I was in that one. That is not a Photoshop one. That's me playing a scientist in the back. You get to do these things when you have your own time and when you have flexibility. And then the last one is my favorite picture. Somebody handed me their baby to sign. So I autographed it, and there's my name. They didn't pay for the autograph, but that's fine. It still was a good moment. I want to take a quick break and just talk a little bit about the journey, if you have any questions about that. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is how all of you can decide how you're going to charge people for your work. If you've ever had a question, well, how much is my work worth? How much should I ask a job for? How much should I ask a client for? We're going to get into that. I'm going to give you exact numbers. So if you don't know how much your work is worth, you're going to know it before you leave. But before that, let's go ahead and answer any questions you have about the journey. Does anyone have any questions? Or what are some things you're thinking of? Perfect. I answered everything. Great. I feel good. All right, so what you'll need for this next section is either a piece of paper or your cell phone, if you want to use your cell phone. I like paper because that's how I first learned, before cell phones. But if you're good on your phone, go ahead and use your phone. I'm going to tell you in advance. I'm going to give you a formula. Who here hates math? Who hates formulas? Don't be afraid. I'm going to hold your hand through it all. It's going to be a big, scary formula. I did make the formula. So I can tell you it's not going to be very complicated. It's just going to be overwhelming to look at. Okay. Okay. Some things we're not going to talk about during this. And I put everything on the slides. You're welcome to take pictures of everything. I know you're supposed to make a presentation and have some things hidden and some cool pictures and stuff, but honestly, these are just your notes. So you can just grab them. We're not going to talk about how you're going to market yourself to an employer. We can have that as a separate conversation if you want to talk about how to get yourself in front of people. We're not going to talk about advertising. So if you're wanting to really promote your skills and services on different platforms or through different tools, we can have that conversation, but not during the pricing one. I will also not talk about pricing ethics. There's a lot of conversation of, should I always price what all my peers are pricing? Should I price really high? Should I price really low? What's moral? We're not going to talk about that. And how to get clients to pay you. That is a whole nother conversation, and it will take just as long as it is for me to do this conversation to talk about how you can get clients. And that's the last one, is how you can get the clients. So how to get them to pay you and how to get them, we can talk about that separately. Okay, so money, right? Let's hear it for money. Yay! At first, when I started my career, I thought, I love art. That's all I want to do. I just want to sit there. I want to turn the lights down. I just want to be drawing. Hand me the crayon. Hand me the marker. Hand me the paint. And that would be my whole life. But then this thing called money came into the picture. And money has changed the way I view my art. Money has changed the way I view working with clients and the projects I take on. And it didn't happen immediately. So if I say things and it doesn't resonate with you, please don't worry about that. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you or anything wrong with the message or anything wrong with the peers. We're all in different places. We're all on different journeys. We're all going to have different relationships with how we are compensated for our work, or if we choose to be compensated for our work. Okay, just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. So why should you learn what you should charge? I know the answer's above me, but why should you learn what you should charge? These are some of my favorite reasons. It's that if you decide to have the client allow to decide what the price is, if you say, oh, well, how much can you afford, or something like that, the client's going to tell you how much they want to pay you. And sometimes that doesn't align with what you need to be compensated for whatever work you're doing. In some situations, I've seen clients price really, really low. Has anyone ever had maybe an item they made or a skill or service they do and tried to give it to someone for a price and allowed them to choose and had that person go way lower than you considered was respectful? Yeah, few people have experienced it. It's not a good feeling. It's really not a good feeling if you're depending on funds or if you're depending on that person. Then it's a really like gut-wrenching feeling that you can have. So it's important that you learn what your price is so that you know when to tell them it's too low. Because sometimes they say the price and you might look at yourself and say, oh, is that what you think I'm worth? Maybe I'm worth that. And that might not be a good thing for you to carry on with your career. If you don't learn to price accurately, you might price too high and you might lose your client. So I have projects that I work on, and sometimes I get asked, do you hire students? And sometimes, rarely, I do hire students, and that's because sometimes when you're first starting out, you don't know what to say. So you say, $1 million. And how long is it going to take? 1,000,000 years. And so those two don't match up. And if you give someone a really high price and they don't see the value in your skill level and what you're bringing to the production, then you might lose that client. If you price too low, you might scare the client. Has anyone ever seen like a food item priced like really, really, really low? Or maybe, what's something important? A car. Like what if you saw a car online and it was like 100 baht? You're like, something's wrong with this car, right? Right? You immediately are suspicious. I don't think I want this car. I don't trust it. I don't feel safe. And you might get something. Like let's say you get something and somebody hands it to you for free. You might not value it as much as something you actually had to pay for yourself. So There's so many reasons why pricing too low is not a great idea. So I put on this slide, pricing too low, you may scare your client, and then even worse, you might keep them, which means they might actually give you that price, and then you're stuck with a low price. There's two kinds of ways that you mainly can charge someone. The first one is hourly rate. And I put this slide up here first because it's a very common one, and it's one that people are familiar with, right? In exchange of money for time. So I work on something for a certain amount of time, and then you pay me for that amount of time. Has anyone ever done something like that, where I'll be here for this long, and then you give me this for that amount of time? What happened? Oh. So it's really simple. It's really easy to understand. 1 hour equals 100 baht. 2 hours equals 200 baht. It's very simple. For negotiation, it really speeds up the process. You don't have to do any kind of math. And you're compensated for every single hour that you're working. So there's no hour that you're not being compensated for. But the drawbacks is that you have less low-end clients. So if somebody cannot afford you, that's what I consider like a low-end. And I don't mean that as like an insult to the client. But I have like a scale of like low-end, mid-range, and high-end clients. So somebody I would consider low-end is somebody who doesn't have a lot of money. Mid-range, they have the average amount of money for the average project. And then high-end would be somebody who has a lot of money to complete something that might be considered smaller. So if you have a project, or if you're working for a company and you say, I want to create a character, like I want to draw a character for you, and they ask, oh, well, how much will that be? And then you turn to that client and say, oh, well, I'll just start drawing, and then I'll just charge you for all the hours that I spend drawing. Put yourself in the client's shoes. How do they feel hearing that? How do you feel? Let's say you go to your friend who's really talented. You say, oh, can you draw a picture of me? And they say, yeah, I'll charge you by the hour. It'll be 100 baht an hour. And you're like, how many hours? Oh, don't worry about that. I'm just going to do the best picture that I want to do. Makes you feel nervous, right? Like, oh man, are they going to take 1 hour? Are they going to take 100 hours? So clients that don't have a lot of money are going to be really scared to hear that. Somebody who has a lot of money, maybe a high-end client, they don't care. It's fine. Over and under pricing. So when you have an hourly rate, you might say, okay, well, I want to be compensated maybe 100 baht an hour. And this, I don't know if this is horrible. Yeah, horrible, 100 baht an hour. So you say, okay, I'll do 100 baht an hour. And then you get the work, and the work is so much work. And you're like, I gave you the friend price. No, you need to go back to regular price because the friend price is too low for all the work. Or you might charge way too much, 1,000 baht an hour. And then you're working so many hours that you actually feel guilty or ashamed to even hand in your invoice. You have a low profit margin potential. So when we talk about profit margin, we're talking about how much money it costs you to do the project, and then any extra money that you have left over from doing the project. So if you have to buy software or tools, or if you have to rent out a space, that cost is going to eat from the money that you are charging the client. So anything left over that hasn't been spent, that's your money, that's your profit margin. And you're going to have a very low profit margin because it stays very consistent. It's just each hour that you work. And so if you want to make 1 million baht or millions and millions and millions of baht, then you're going to have to work so many hours to do that, right? You only get as much time as you put in. And you're punished for being fast. Who's here is fast? Who's like, I'm fast at my art? Come on. Yeah, you're fast. I'm fast. I'm fast at hiring other people to do it. Yeah. So if you're fast at your art, you get punished because if it only takes you 1 hour, you get less money than somebody who's slow and takes 10 hours. And that's not right. Is it? Right? I'm not going to talk about ethics, but let's go to the next portion of it for the, next slide. We've got hourly rate, and then we've got flat rate. So I said there's two, right? The hourly rate, which it could be hourly or monthly or daily, whatever it is, but a increment of time in the rate. And then we've got this called a flat rate. So a flat rate is when you, in advance, come up with a rate and say that's what the project cost. So if you have ever walked into a store and bought some shoes, right? They didn't say, oh, well, you can buy the amount of hours it took to make the shoes and the cost for the materials. They said, no, this is just a shoe price. It doesn't matter if you're buying shoes that took only 2 hours for a machine to make or 30 hours for a human being to make. If it's the same kind of shoe, then that's what it is. And the same thing for your project. If you go to that same friend and say, can you draw a picture of me? And they say, okay, great. It'll be 500 baht. Then you can either decide like, oh, I can afford that or I can't afford that. And you can ask more questions like, what else will I get with it? That's fine. But somebody who doesn't have a lot of funds to spend or to waste or to risk, they're going to be more attracted to a flat rate. You get paid your satisfaction price. This is my favorite price. Has anyone ever heard of this? Has anyone heard of a fair price? A fair price? Like I'm charging a fair price? Has anyone ever heard that before? Okay, a few nods. Okay. Anybody heard of an unfair price? Okay. What I like is satisfaction price. This is the price that makes me feel good. There's sometimes you work on a project. Think about your homework. What if all your professors paid you to do your homework? Oh yeah, imagine you're getting paid. Everyone's paying you to do all your work now, okay? You don't work for free. And you get to charge your professors one of three prices. An unfair price, which means the value you give them does not match the price they're paying. That's for everybody who's not doing their work properly. If you gave them bad work, you gave them an unfair price. You give them a fair price, which means there's an equal relationship to the value you gave them and the amount they compensated you. Or let's say you give your professors what I like to call your satisfaction price. This is how I feel I should be compensated. So for those of you who said they didn't like math, raise your hands. Yeah. You might charge a math teacher more than you charge your other professors. And this is the same thing with your satisfaction price. You might have a client who's really easy to work with. You get their work done fast because they have clear communication. You love the project you get to work on, and so you charge them this amount. And then you have projects that you don't like to do with clients that are really, really fussy, and you charge them this amount because honestly, it hurts your soul to even get up and work on it. It also opens you up to a whole range of clients. So when you start having flat rate prices, now you can have like a menu where people can start choosing packages or deals, and they know up front what the price is. How many of you have walked into a store and there was no price tag on any of the items? What did you know immediately? Yeah, the price that I get is not going to be the same price that everyone else gets, right? It's always going to change. But what did it feel like to walk into a store and to see the price tag right on there? You know immediately, I get charged the same amount as that person, as that person, and as that person. And so you don't have to worry about if you're getting charged more or less than someone else. It's also easier to subcontract work. So contracting, when you're contracting a project, you're bringing someone in to work on the project with you. And when you're subcontracting, you're working under someone in the same manner. So instead of working side by side to complete a project where you both might be working with a client, now they're reporting directly to you. An example is when I work on a project and a client says, oh, hey, Allyssa, can you help me make this animation? I need 2 illustrators, 1 character designer, 2 animators, a background painter, a voice actor. They say all of this stuff. And I go, yeah, I could do all that. Yeah, I'm a jack of all trades. I also tell them that I have other people that work with me. And then I say, oh, hey, you, could you help me with the illustration? Could you help me with the character design? And all of these people report directly to me. They will never speak to the client. These are called subcontractors. It's easier to work with a subcontractor when you have a flat rate. Okay.
Should I use this?
Yes, please.
Personal expenses, is it like a certain amount per week or per month? How is it calculated?
You can choose whatever increment you like. I like choosing per month because there's only 12 months, and if I go by weeks, there's 52, and that's just a lot. So choose whatever increment you use, but you have to be consistent. So let's go ahead and just think about what those expenses are, and you choose what unit you want to use right now. You don't have to do all the math, but you do have to know what it is right now, okay? Everyone good? Okay. The next one is business expenses. These are how much it costs. This is all the expenses, how much it costs for you to do your business. Right now, your business is your art or your skill or whatever service you're providing. If your service is project management or directing or producing or photography or anything, that's fine. This is your business expense. That's your software, your office space, even if that's just a section of your home. That's your chairs, your pencils, your camera, your insurance, your everything that has to do with it. Your website, your social media ads. If you pay for something, if you pay for tutorials, that's your business expense. Okay. Looking for faces. We have taxes. Taxes vary between country, between regions, between types of business. They're always fluctuating, but you're going to have to know what your taxes are. Your taxes could be split between your personal tax percentage, your business tax percentage, and any other thing that gets encompassed. But I just put taxes in there, and you'll have to figure out taxes. But that'll be a percentage that you add. Okay. We've got working days as your next one. These are the number of days you work. Any questions? Working hours. These are the number of hours you work. Your industry markup. Now, please be advised, I made up all these acronyms. So the letters, I put those letters in there. It's just to be used in the formula. So I'm putting IMU. You will not find this in any Google search. This is your industry markup. And the industry markup is what is already being what's already the standard for that rate, for that skill set. So if animators get paid a certain amount at certain companies, and you feel your skill level falls within the same range as them, then you would have like the same level of markup. But if you are more talented than the average artist, you would have a higher markup. If you are less talented, you would have a lower mark. I guess a mark down. I don't know. You mark down the prices. What I like to do with industry markup is have it on a scale. I use a scale of 1 to 5, and I actually brought this when I was working at Netflix. I brought this up as well, of having artists ranged on tiers and ranged on the amount of skill they bring into production so that we can hire people more equitably. So if you think your skill right now, I'm going to give you the number you're going to use. If you feel right now your skills are very, very low, like just starting out, I barely know what I'm doing, I definitely need someone to watch me and to hold my hand. If you feel like you're down there, give yourself a 1. That is the number you're going to put in there. Okay? If you feel like your skills are just above a beginner, you already have a baseline information, you know kind of what you're doing, you do need someone to check in on you from time to time, but you're doing okay. It's not good work, it's just okay work. If you feel like that's where you are, give yourself a 2. If you feel like your skills do not need a supervisor, you can go to a job and you'd be a first year or early entry career person, or you'd be somebody who just started out in the career, but you could definitely get a job. Not a great job, but you could get a job with your skills right now. Give yourself a 3. If you feel like your skills are a little bit above that, where yes, it feels like you could get a job, but it also feels like you'd be good at that job. You'd be making good work. People would look at your portfolio and say, it's good. If you feel like you were good in the industry, give yourself a 4. And if your skills are great and they command a higher level of attention, a higher level of compensation, you feel like you're definitely above the average artist, you're even above the artists that are working in studios, give yourself a 5. Okay, does everyone have their number? Does anyone need a little assistance? Yes? Oh, okay, just putting on your mask. Okay, everyone has their number? Okay, good. We've got the next one, project cost. This is the cost of the project. project rate. This is how much the project is going to be charged for other people, so how much you're going to charge. You've got your daily rate, how much you charge per day. Hourly rate, which is how much you charge per hour. Your minimum acceptable rate, your MAR. This is what many of you are going to be finding out today, is what is the lowest amount of money you're able to charge and still be fair to yourself. If you charge any lower than this, you will be poor. So do not charge lower than this. You're going to find out that number. And then your hourly rate. So your hourly rate is different. I can't tell you how right now. It just is. Trust me. Let's go to the formula. Okay, we still feeling good? I know. Shocked faces. Okay, don't look like that, okay? You were trusting me. You were doing good before. Continue to trust me. It will be fine. It will be fine. I made this, okay? This is how you're going to figure out how much you're going to charge. Yeah, you see, it's just addition and division. It is elementary school math. It's fine. And we are here for you, okay? So you're going to do this math right now, separately, and then you're going to put it together, okay? Okay, so we have the first one, your personal expenses plus your business expenses equals your project cost, right? Your project cost, how much it costs for you to live, how much it costs for you to work, that's how much you have to charge, right? That's your project cost, right? Let's go ahead and put those numbers together. And when you're done, just look straight up. If you're not done, keep your head down. So if I see your head down, I know you're working. If your head is up, I know you're done. Unless you're looking at the screen. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the first one. Just the PE plus BE equals PC. Just the first one. Yes.
Which one between PE and BE makes more sense to be like higher?
It really depends. I mean, there's times when I lived with like a friend. It cost me nothing for my personal expenses, and my business expenses is all I really had. And then there were times where I had to pay for everything, and I definitely was neglecting my business, and so that was really low. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it also depends on like the time. I
Yeah.
guess.
Like if you live with your parents, you should have next to no personal expenses.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And how much your parents want to support? They're charging you?
Because some parents are like, if you're going to stay in this house, you're going to have something on the table.
Oh, yeah. That's my parents. They're like, oh,
Military.
we got paid. Yay, we got paid.
I appreciate it now, but I didn't appreciate it as a kid. Yeah.
It was,
See the wisdom
yeah.
at this laid out. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it to my own kids. Listen, we got paid, kids, yeah.
Were you ever down in Florida when you moved bases?
No, but my family's there now.
Okay. Yeah, my Air Force family from Tampa, Florida.
That's why my sister's there.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah.
She was in the Air Force,
What was your father?
in the Army.
Army, okay.
So they had different paths.
Yes. I want to know about that project that you did about World War II. That sounds like your first
I
job
think it's
sounds
still
like
on there. It was, 1,000 veterans die a day. I have someone on a schedule. I'm like, okay, talk to them. Yeah. Yes?
You can turn on your mic.
Is it better? Okay. For the PE, right? Yes. Do we count like now or later? Because
I'd like to have everyone's attention. Thank you. Here is number one. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello, my name is Community Chikam, or you can call me Newton. Thank you so much. For now, I would like to present my portfolio as 3D animator. Yeah, I am from Thailand, yeah, this country. Okay, at first, I am graduated from demonstration of Bangkok University, And then I joined this university because I would like to follow my dream as being animator. Okay, this is my skills in the overall. Firstly, is 3D animation. My experience programs are Autodesk, Maya 3D, and Blender 3D. And the second thing is 2D animation and illustration. My experience program is Adobe Animate, Adobe After Effects, Illustrator, and Photoshop. And this is my first project. This is my current work in my intern company right now. I have to be responsible for tracking, mocap, facial animation, and lighting, compositing in Blender 3D for the 12-minute animated short from the novel named Dangerously Ever After with a team of 50 people. And yeah, I will show you. Yeah, and this is a mocap of facial animation. And this is a detail more about like a facial animation. Yeah. And this is how I try to make a lighting by using the mask and making like the light like this. I have to render it for many times to check each scene to make sure that like the scene will be shown properly to make the model like act like as like as real as they can, yeah. And this is the last thing like at the final outcome like this. Okay. And okay, I will talk about like this is the real monster. Like I have to be responsible for lip sync animation in Maya 3D to 15 dialogue piece from Visual Season 2 for posting it in 11-second cut, working with a group of 3. Yeah, actually this is from a 3D class from Ajahn.
My dear, monsters are more than just horrid looks and claws and teeth. Monsters are born of deeds done.
Do you really want to tell employers that you're stuck in your phone? But then I saw the beautiful sunset behind you, and I thought it was so funny. So it shows your humor. Um, Humor can be risky, but it works for me. I'm not saying it'll work for everyone, but it definitely worked for me, so I thought that was a very funny image. I also really like that you listed your information. You even listed a phone number. Thank you. As a recruiter, it really helps. So you don't have to have your phone number if it's a number that you don't want to put online publicly. Sometimes when you put like your phone number and your email and stuff, you can get like spam or hackers coming for you. But you can always use like a Google number or some online number that's not your personal number, so people aren't calling you at all kinds of hours. And you can filter that out. I have a business number I use. It's an online number. I will never get a phone call on a cell phone from that number. It's just in case a client calls and wants to leave a message, and you can use that here too. So it's very helpful. I would include your website. I mean, we're on a website right now. I would include that in your contact information because it's where they can find your work. Also, can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
I'm sorry I have to move so fast. I just want to get to all of them. So you've got your skills here, but what I'm looking at is software. So I would list this as software and then put your skills as the things you can actually do, like your talents. So maybe you say 3D modeling, rigging, animation, lighting, things like that under that. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
got great descriptions here. You have got what you did, who you did it with, how much work you're doing. I get an idea of the sense of the project. So you could always write more because this is your page, but you've got a nice chunk right here that I can keep my attention and get the most important details from it. So I really love this description. If anyone's looking at a good example for a description for a project, this is great. I also love your layout. It's very simple and very clean. Can we go to the next part where you talked about, or where you had the project? Can you click on the project one, but with the facial animation?
Oh.
Actually, you can leave it off. We can just talk about it. When you did your project for the with facial animation, so not project 2, but project 1, the one before it, when we clicked on the YouTube video, we went in, you were showing aspects of the rig. I would pull out a little bit more so I can see more of how your face affects the rest of the body. Sometimes there are rigs that when you're putting it together, they affect other parts of the body. So I would just pull out a little bit more. Doesn't have to be much, just where you can see a little bit more of the face. And then show more of the controls for the next person who's going to use that rig. I saw you doing some motions on it, but I really want to get a sense is when you make your rig, when you hand it off to the next person, are they able to use it? You have it was really good that you showed your final work at the end. Some students don't include that, so I really love that you added that. Consider snapshots of the range of the expressions for the character. So on that page where you had the project and it had 3 pictures for this project 1, consider showing the range. Like, what's the furthest the smile can go up? What's the lowest the frown can go? Like, show me the range of the limitations of that rig so that I know how expressive this character is. Because that's really what I want to know. I want to know how expressive can you make your characters, how fine detail can you make them, how much can you isolate the range of expression so it doesn't affect the other body parts. Can your rig be used by other people? So is it like a standard rig, something that's easy to understand? And do you understand how your work is going to be used in the project? So you showing the final piece is great. And then project 2, I would say the part that I saw on that first slide, when you were showing the animation on here, when the character was holding the knife and stuff, the body part was always moving. Everything was moving. And I would say, don't move for the sake of movement. Move with intention. Every single time you do something, there should be a reason behind it. So if you are showing a character picking up a knife, show them picking up the knife for what reason? Is it because they are nervous, they have a nervous twitch, they always have to be fidgeting. Show me that. And I need to see other parts of the body following along with that nervous twitch. If they are a sing-songy character with the knife, I need to see that intentionality put into each movement. It felt sometimes like the movements were just happening because you just wanted to have it moving. And that is all I have.
Okay, we have to move forward quicker. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi guys. Hello, my GMC friends and some of the IMI folks. My name is Sans from Digital Media and Design course, 3rd years. I would like to show my portfolio. So first, let's say I want to be a concept artist with video games or animations. So I'm mainly focusing on designing characters. And here are some of it. Yeah.
If there's anything that you feel needs explanation, you could add.
Okay. So this is also some of the shot I try to explain the one character going through the scene and telling the story to like each box. So some of the illustration I try to paint. and a black and white that's ready to apply colors. Yeah. We can also see some of my illustrations. So most of it will be something like my personal work, something I will do in my free time to practice my painting skill. And one of my favorite projects from the university to recreate the tarot card. Yeah, another little bit of the study of painting. I can go to this quickly. Yeah, so I'm still studying about the anatomy right now. Also, I have some like fundamentals of the 3D modeling. And also animations. I can go through this quickly. This is created by Life Duty. It is being hard on me again. Okay, sorry about that. I can go to other video. Yeah, I did 2D animations and 3D animations. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your portfolio. It was very enjoyable looking through it. So thank you for letting me also know where you want to work, what industry, in video games and in animation. So I looked at your work through that lens as a concept artist. So as a concept artist, you get a lot more leeway in how you make your art because you don't have to worry about making the final piece. You're just coming up with the ideas so that other artists can make the final piece. The biggest challenge for concept artists is that you have to have an entire universe in your head, whereas a character designer only has to have characters in their head. A background designer has to have backgrounds in their head. A prompt designer has to have prompts in their head. But a concept artist has to have the entire universe. And so when I look at your portfolio, one of the things I want to see is the entire universe. How does everything work together? I saw a lot of characters, which is usually the fun thing to work on. So that's great. Your characters were aesthetically pleasing. It has a lot of balance, great use of color. They look like they had movable parts. My biggest pet peeve with character design is that as an animator, I'm the person after the character designer. So if a character designer doesn't make parts that can be animatable, they have to go right back and redraw because you never make your work for yourself or just to make beautiful work. You make it for the next person in the pipeline. And so your work is for the person who's getting it after you. As a character designer, your work is for the person who is going to finalize the characters, the backgrounds, the props. The storyboard artist is going to use work from you. The director might even change from your cues. And so you've got a lot of people who are going to be coming to you from your ideas. So that's the biggest note is that more of everything. A character designer might draw for a few hours every single day. A concept artist never puts their sketchbook away because you're going to be drawing all the time. You showed some storyboards, which is nice. It's a nice use of depth. I like your grayscales in there. I feel like the focus was on what's happening in the story and not what it looks like for each piece, which is really not the area you would be focusing on. I would make sure to use camera angles. So whenever you get into an entire different industry, you're getting into storyboard, learn what storyboarders have to learn, which is camera angles. Their job is to tell the story through visuals. So learn the techniques that tell that story. With your illustrations, I like that you have some finished work put in there. It's good to have your process. It's good to have things that you're working on, and I get an idea of how you work. But move some of those finished things up to the top, because there's some things that were not as nice as some of your finished work, and they were higher up. And so if I decided to give up on scrolling early, I wouldn't have seen them. One of the questions I have is, how will your work be used and by who? So if you have an idea of what companies you want to work for or what kind of projects you want to take on in the future, this will give you a lot more clarity on what styles to focus on, or what areas of expertise that you should really be putting on the front of your portfolio. You have a lot of things, but you want to make sure you start doing some things really, really well. As a character designer, focus on the entire universe. If you're going to do storyboards, you need to focus also on the camera, the directions, dynamic action, all those other things. So decide where you want to add another skill when you have to still develop another one. And then the animation, it was really nice. I felt like that was more effects animation because you were working on just one body part. But in animation, you have to focus on the entire physics and the acting of the character and what's happening and what the locomotion of one action and how that affects the other. So figure out either the 12 principles and add that to it, or focus on your concept work and the universe. One tip I would say is that when you're making your portfolio, have the job listing of the company right in front of you. Go ahead. I know you're students right now. You're thinking, I can't apply to a job. I don't even have a degree yet. I haven't finished my portfolio. I'm on social media. I'm playing video games. I'm doing whatever it is. Probably you're studying. But I'm doing that. I don't have everything ready yet. Go ahead. Look for the job you want online today. Maybe that's your challenge for today. Go online, find the job you want, the one you're not ready for. Put it in front of you and see, does your portfolio say that I'm ready for it? And it might not have all the skills you're looking for, but at least the direction needs to be there.
Hello. Actually, I didn't prepare anything for my portfolio, but I have an Instagram account, so I will show my Instagram account.
And all I need is like your name and your previous qualifications.
Unlocks it. You can't look at the images until you sign.
Really good. Yeah. Because we will have 5 more students.
Take it one more try.
Yeah, find it on the phone.
And you can come back.
Okay. Next.
So we can switch order.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say that this is a teachable moment, right? If you have your website and it's just, hey, whatever your name is .com, easy, right?
Right.
This, yeah. Hello, so sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Ian, and today I'm going to present my portfolio in photography field.
So yes, I'm a Vietnamese guy that I moved to Thailand for college and I learned video production, innovating video production, and I'm in my fourth year right now. So I concentrate on photography and film, and I focus on multiple like type of photography, just like product photography, event photography, wedding photography, and portrait photography. And I kind of like enthusiastic with like this type of photography for a long time, and I had like some experience working in fact in my hometown, which is Vietnam. And later on, I built one brand with my corporation to develop the wedding photography. And I also later built another brand named Ian Photographs, and I worked on my video career there. So I hope you enjoy my work. So from 2020 to 2021, I worked as media director, photographer, and cinematographer in the Q&A marketing agency. And during this time, I do like kind of many projects working on like promoting like the brand, which is like a restaurant. I do take photography for product, like food and other stuff, to like cover like the campaigns to promote. And I also like cover up like strategies, like media strategies. Then I later do like a little bit to the sport field, which like providing like live streaming and then like photography like services for the matches in the country, kind of like that. And later I do like a little bit more on cinematography, like I do promote like the TVC. Later, I think it's not enough for me, so I start to switch the company and I start to dig a little bit deeper into the wedding industry. And I worked for this wedding for as like a set designer, photographer, and like operator. And I participated in many fashion projects as a lighting operator. For like this kind of project is like a project called Bazaar that they promote like kind of like it's like a promote campaigns for a city in Vietnam. And later they have like a fashion project. I work as a photographer for the event also. Yep. Later that I think is like a risky but like a good way for me to start a new adventure. So I start to build up my brand, which is I fly back to my hometown and I start to build like a wedding brand here as a co-founder of photographer. So at this one I start to dig to tie up my services, pre-wedding and ceremony. So I start to like sell my unique point like is that I start to want to pursue a generalistic and emotional imagery, and I want to like give a customer like kind of like a visual feeling when they actually go on day of shooting. And for the wedding ceremony, I mean like for this one, I want to capture the natural moments of the wedding, and I want it to be part of the experience of myself also. So I want to sell the point to my customers that like I will participate in their wedding as a friend, as a part of the ceremony. I'll be there, but not like just like a stranger to make them feel comfortable about what I'm doing for them. Yep. So basically, like my slide just gonna be like pictures all the way. Yeah. Yeah. And at the very end, I provide phone numbers, and then